Kevin Sheridan is in our Washington bureau. He was communications director for Paul Ryan when Ryan was Mitt Romney's running mate in 2012. All right, so Kevin, you have worked closely with Paul Ryan. How do you read his statement that he'd be willing to step down as chairman of the convention?
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I think, if this it's Donald Trump's nomination, and he can stage his convention the way he wants. That always is a benefit of winning the nomination. So he should be able to do whatever he wants with his convention. But Paul Ryan, it wouldn't be a good fit if he ultimately doesn't want to endorse him or throw his support behind him. So that doesn't surprise me at all. And I think they'll work that out. They're going to meet on Thursday. They'll have discussions about what they're willing to come together on and where they can't meet. And we'll have to see whether or not he can ultimately support him.
Do you think in some part this is Speaker Ryan wanting to disassociate himself from Donald Trump?
Well, I think there's real reservations there. I think Paul Ryan stated those the other day, and I think he wants to hear more about the serious policy agenda that Paul Ryan has worked his whole life for on entitlement reform and tax reform. And I think he's got some concerns about tone and how we present ourselves as a party and the standards that we hold ourselves to. So I think if we can't get there on that, then it wouldn't make sense to go forward and be the convention chairman anyway. So I think that's just a logical extension of where we currently are, and it's a bit of a divide in the party, honestly. So.
All right, I'm going to bring into this conversation Leslie Sanchez. She's, of course, our CBSN political contributor, also a Republican strategist. So, Leslie, the tension between Paul Ryan and Donald Trump essentially seems to boil down to this. Ryan seems to see Donald Trump and his nomination as an attempt to kind of court, for Trump rather, to court the party. And, on the other hand, Trump, some might see this as an occasion for the party to court him. I mean, how do you see it here, and what do you make of that kind of tension?
Sure. I think the reality is that Speaker Ryan wants establishment, at least leadership Republicans, to have a seat at the table so they can be part of these very important negotiations when it comes to platform, tone of the convention. There's a lot of very hard lessons the party has learned in terms of inclusiveness, who speaks at the party, the types of music, the types of messages, the types of messengers, and really putting forward a coherent kind of message that can unite a lot of independent conservatives, Republicans together to win in November. So it's bridging a very difficult negotiation, and I do think it's a little bit of hardball with respect to Speaker Ryan, and it's a very fair move.
All right, Leslie and Kevin, Donald Trump has picked up support from two top GOP fundraisers, Anthony Scaramucci, a New York investor, and Home Depot founder Ken Langone. But Kevin, let me start with you. There's still a long list of top Republicans who say they won't support him. So, I mean, where does he stand essentially on endorsements?
Well, endorsements are breaking two ways in the donor community and with the elected official community, and with voters in general. I think there are Republicans up and down that are making a personal choice about whether or not they can get behind Donald Trump. Those that didn't support him in the nomination, and normally it's a consolidation of the party, but in this case, with the scorched earth that he employed in the primary campaign, it's going to take at least more time, if not ever get there. So we'll have to see, and it's a personal choice that people are making right now, and we're going to see how it evolves in the next 2 months.
Leslie, how do you see it, this notion of endorsements?
No, very true, and I'll give you a great example. There's a Latino conservative coalition that was formed together because of Donald Trump. They were part of the #NeverTrump movement. They started in Colorado, went to Nevada, ended up in Florida, followed the presidential primaries around, and basically didn't like the tone, said we're not going to be here if you don't come and compromise. But talking to them, there's actually a fracture within that coalition. Half of them are willing to side with Donald Trump. They really want to see if there's some substance behind his immigration and border enforcement plans, his economic policies for small business. The other half are so they want to repudiate all of these nasty messages toward Mexico and Mexican immigrants that they really can't come to the table. So even within these coalitions, you're going to have some people that are just never going to come back.
It's complicated, though.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, another question for both of you. The New York Times reports some of Ted Cruz's backers want to seize control of the GOP's platform at the convention and that they may not give up their delegates so easily. What power do former candidates have, Kevin, I'll start with you, at the convention once they've suspended their bids?
Well, Ted Cruz did a lot of outreach to delegates, obviously, and he put together a pretty strong coalition of grassroots Republicans that care very deeply about the platform. They are the ones who care most about the platform. The platform serves as, you know, kind of the parameters for what we believe in, and a presidential candidate can end up, you know, employing some or most or all of the platform, but that really is not what is at stake here for these guys. They want to make sure that the platform is preserved. They fought for years and generations to get some of the items into the platform that they fought for, and especially on social issues. And I think that's what they really care about. And so they're going to use whatever power they have to make sure that happens this year.
What do you think, Leslie?
Absolutely right. Those are some of the most contentious fights during the conventions. Are the days prior, when they are really negotiating very hard on how. On some of those positions, which can sound extreme, and some of those are usually the ones that see the light of day in the media, because they're like, here goes the Republican Party pulling way to the right. The difference is, and I think very much to his point, is that the candidate has their own set of issues they're moving forward. He may want to move, like he's talking about on trade, you know, kind of his anti-trade movement. What's he going to do on tax reform? He's all building the wall. Whatever his platform is, he's going to be talking about those issues versus the larger umbrella issue of the GOP platform itself. So it's weaving the two together.
All right, I just have one last one. Kevin, I'll start with you on this. You know, Donald Trump is going to be meeting, we've already laid this out, with House Speaker Paul Ryan. He's also meeting with other top Republicans. I'm just curious, from where you sit, who has more power, essentially, going into this, into these meetings and going into this kind of a discussion? You know, is it Donald Trump, as he is the presumptive nominee? Would it be Paul Ryan as the highest-ranking elected Republican? Where's the balance of power there?
Well, it's a divided party, and I don't know that anybody has an upper hand right now. I think what it is, I think Donald Trump needs to realize that if he's going to run on the Republican, as a Republican, he's going to need Republicans. And if he's going to go left and try to build some other coalition, well, those Republicans may never come back, and they may just, that lane of Republicans that just can't get there with him may just stay home. They may just vote down ballot. They may not be there for him. So he needs to really decide what he wants to do. And this outreach to Mitch McConnell, this outreach to Paul Ryan, will help determine whether or not that happens, I think. And we're going to find out more at the end of this week whether or not, when you hear from Speaker Ryan, when you hear from other leaders who have met with him, what they heard from him about his tone, about his policies, and we'll know more by the end of this week probably on what that looks like.
I mean, Leslie, he says, though, Donald Trump says that there doesn't need to be unity.
I think this may be another case where he's done this before, where he has a message to his supporters, his tried and true, that he's saying, I'm standing strong, we're going to fight Washington. But, secretly, I'm not going to use secretly, but behind closed doors, he's going to be more in a negotiating tone and say, we can come together on these types of things. That tends to be what he does in business, and I'm very hopeful that's where he is. He needs a success here. He does need a win here. Kevin is exactly right, because if it continues to move in a fractured way, it's a bit arrogant, but it's also not going to have the party infrastructure, the folks willing to get in line to get out the vote, raise the money, knock on the doors, and all the things that you need to fundamentally get people mobilized.
All right, we will be watching it closely. Kevin Sheridan and Leslie Sanchez, thank you both.
Thank you.